Hi guys, so I'm David, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video I'm going to be talking about what it took to get a basic paragliding license. So I'm going to start off talking about the time you can expect it to take to do your license. So it usually takes between 10 and 14 days, but this usually depends a lot on weather conditions and if your instructor is available for every one of those days, and also your personal tiredness. So for myself, for instance, I needed to take a break after 3 days because 3 days of constant flying, your legs start wobbling when you land, and you can expect to be waiting around quite a bit of time as well between flights, because you're on average going to fly for you're going to be on site for about 7 hours a day, but you're only going to get roughly 5 flights, and each flight usually ranges between 3 and 20 minutes per flight. So the majority of the time is actually spent driving back up to the takeoff site and also waiting around for the right conditions or until your instructor is available to guide you through your flight. So in regards to the cost of this course, I did mine in South Africa, where it cost between 16,500 to 20,000 Rand, after which you will receive your basic paragliding license, which is the equivalent of an IPPI 4 license, which you can then use internationally. The 16,500 to 20,000 Rand equates to around 830 to 1,000 euros. So the location where I did my basic paragliding license is in a place called the Garden Route, which then joins Sedgefield and Wilderness as the two primary locations where you'll be taking off and doing the majority of your flights. So here's a quick breakdown I'll go through of what you can expect in day 1, day 2 and day 3 onwards. So in day 1 you usually begin by registering with SAPA in South Africa, or the equivalent paragliding association internationally, or in whichever country you're in. And then you get a safety briefing, you get a paragliding handbook, and then you usually begin by doing some groundwork handling as well, using a smaller kite. So then on day 2, you can already progress to using a full-size wing, and then you do a few dune runs and short flights before you do a first flight over a minute from a high sand dune, as in my case, but it will be dependent on where you do your training. So then from day 3 onwards, the primary goal is that you need to obtain 4 hours worth of flying time and also 35 flights. And in between doing that, your instructor may also give you the exam to begin writing during that period, especially if you have an off day. So then after you've completed 4 hours of flying and done your 35 flights, then you fill out a list at the end of your flight logbook, which lists all the maneuvers you've done, the locations you've done them, and obviously the amount of hours and the number of flights you've done. And then you also fill out safety forms and consent forms, etc., before you upload all the documents to the relative paragliding association, which you will have signed up to in the beginning. The details on how to do all of this in South Africa, the way I did it, will be uploaded then later in a separate video. Then after submission, you can expect it to take 2 to 6 weeks in South Africa to receive your license, although that will be country dependent. In my case, it took just over 4 weeks to receive the license. So then to share my general experience of what it was to learn how to paraglide, it was quite different from what I was expecting, because when you see these guys flying up high, you know, they look all peaceful and relaxed and flying smoothly. But once you're in the seats and you have the wing above you, you start to realize there's actually quite a bit of turbulence going on around there. And you start to pendulum backwards and forwards, left and right, and it starts to feel a lot more stressful than you originally thought. So there's quite a bit of adrenaline involved in the sport, which you might not assume while you're on ground, but it is still really fun. And when you land on the ground after at least half an hour of flying, you'll find that your legs are still shaking and your world might still seem like it's wobbling left and right a little bit. So then in regards of kite handling, you first get practice on the ground and sand dunes using the kite. So you get an assessment of how it turns, how it accelerates, etc. before you do your first flight. And then once you're flying smoothly and there's no thermals pulling around a gust of wind and you're flying straight, it's an incredible feeling when you're not being pulled around. And here in South Africa, the coastal winds can be quite gusty, which pulls you and the thermals around a little bit, which can get a bit stressful, but it just adds a bit to the excitement. Then also tying in with instructive feedback, I mean, it's very important that you know you can get along well with your instructor, because you guys are going to be spending quite a lot of time together. So in my case, I was very appreciative of my instructor being very attentive to me while I am flying and giving me the best pointers he could while on the ground. There are, however, some areas I do feel could have been perhaps drummed into me a little bit stronger and with more force when I was just learning out, such as the rules of overtaking or passing other paragliders, how to quickly untangle your lines, how thermals work and how to predict them, and also how to get yourself out of other sticky situations. So my overall opinion is that this is a super fun sport. I'm very, very motivated now to continue paragliding and travel the world doing this in every country I can. I would highly recommend and suggest that if you are thinking of doing a paragliding license course, that you first book a introductory period where it's usually be 1 or 2 days where you do some ground handling and you maybe get a flight or two in to get a feel of paragliding, whether it's the sport for you, before you commit to doing the full paragliding license course. Because once you've signed up for that, you're committing to 10 to 14 days of paragliding. So that's my suggestions. I hope that comes in very useful, and good luck with your paragliding.